In the previous programs and the tutorials that we've looked at, all our programs have executed linearly. By that we mean that they executed in a sequence. One command was executed, then the next command, and then the next, and so on. This isn't always how we want a program to execute, because sometimes we need to make a decision or a choice as to what we want to do next. In this tutorial we're going to look at writing a very simple program that asks the user to enter a password. Once the user enters the password, we're then going to confirm whether that password was correct or not. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to set up a variable that will store the password that they need to get correct. In this case, I'm going to set a simple password to be let me in. So I've created a variable called password and I'm assigning it the value let me in. What I then need to do next is ask the user to attempt to put their password in. So I'm going to create another variable called attempt, and as in the previous tutorial, I'm going to use the raw input function because I want to get in a piece of text. All I then need to do is set some sort of prompt message that tells the user what I want them to type in. So enter your password. So I've now set a variable called password which contains the value let me in, and I've asked the user in a variable called attempt to enter their password. What I now need to do is check to see whether their attempt matches the actual password that they need to get. In order to do this in Python, I need to use an if statement. If the attempt that they've typed in is equal to the password which we've set at the top of the code, we then want to do something. What we want to do is we want to print a message. Password correct. So let's have a look at what we've got here. We've created a variable called password and given it the value let me in. We've then asked the user to enter their password using the raw input function because we're asking them to enter text, and we're storing that in a variable called attempt. We're then using the if statement in Python, and we're saying if the attempt that they've typed in is equal to the password that we've set, then we want to print the message password correct. Now it's important that we look at the structure of this if statement here. Notice there's no capital letters here, in Python's case sensitive, so typing a capital I at the beginning here would create an error. Notice that instead of using a single equals sign, if we want to compare two values to see if they're the same, we need to use a double equals, an equal followed by another equals sign. And then at the end of the if statement here, we've got a colon, two dots, one above the other. You can read that colon as the word then. So if the attempt equals whatever is in password, then we can print the message password correct. So let's run this program and see what happens. It's asking us for their password, which is what this line of code is doing here. So let's try putting in let me in. That will then get stored in this variable attempt. Python will then check to see if the attempt matches whatever is in password, and if it does, it should print password correct. Let's see if it does it. Lo and behold, down here we've got the message password correct. Okay, so it appears to work. Let's now try it when we get the password wrong. So let's run the program again. Let's get the password wrong. Click on OK and see what it does. It appears to do nothing. And there's a very good reason why it's done nothing, because this if statement only tells Python what to do if the condition is true. This first line of code is executed only if the attempt matched the password. If we want it to output something if the condition was false, then we need to introduce an else part to the if. And then we can simply ask Python to print password incorrect. So now what we're doing in Python is saying if the attempt is the same as the password, print this message. If it's not the same, print this message here. So let's run the code again. Let's get the password wrong this time. Click on OK. And Python has now output the message password incorrect. it's important that when you're constructing an if statement, the code inside the if is indented. PyScripter should take care of this for you. Notice the else is not indented, it needs to be in line with the if, and then the thing that we want Python to do if the condition is false must also be indented. You can, of course, if you wish, add more lines of code in here. So I could add another line of code here that said, well done, if you got the password wrong. Down here, I could add another bit of code that said, print to bad. Again, this code here will only be executed if this condition is true, if the attempt matches the password. This bit of code here will be done if they don't match, if the condition is false. So let's run it. Let's get the password correct. Let me in. This time we get both lines of code printed that were here. We run it again and we get the password wrong. This time we get these two lines of code here. If we wish to continue the program, then we can add code lower down here after the if statement by simply removing the indent. I could simply here include a line of code that said program finished. So if we now run the program, get the password correct, it should do this here because attempt is equal to password. It'll then drop down and it will do this line of code here. Password correct, well done, program finished. If we run it again, let's get the password wrong. This time, because attempt is not equal to password, it will do the else part of the statement, and then once it's done this bit here, it'll drop down and it will do this again. And there we go. Password incorrect, too bad, program finished. That concludes this tutorial.